Okay, now we're going to be looking at the cosine rule. So we've done the sine rule, now we're on to the cosine rule, and this is the last rule you need to know for this lesson. Okay, so we're almost there. Now, as you can see, we're using the same triangle. We're referring to the same triangle for the cosine rule as we did for the sine rule. Now with the cosine rule, sometimes we can't use the sine rule for any type of triangle because either we don't have matching sides and angles or we don't have one of the angles. So if we don't have enough information, we can always refer to the cosine rule. Okay, so that might work. There's two options you can always take when you're looking for a missing side or a missing angle, the sine rule and the cosine rule. So this cosine rule, this is it. So yeah, it's a little bit longer and it's a little bit more memorizing to do. Okay, but you'll get there. Have a look. It's a squared equals to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc, so 2 times b times c, times cos a, capital A. So as you can see, this little a here is the side. Okay, so a squared is a side squared. And as you can see, we're using one angle. So with the cosine rule, we only need one angle. Okay, so which is just a. And this angle A is that angle. So that's the angle opposite that side that we used here. Okay, so with the cosine rule, you only need one pair of opposite side and angle. Okay, in this case, A and capital A. A, capital A. So they're always like at the outer ends. You can think of it like that. Now B and C are simply the remaining two sides. Okay, so it's going to be b squared plus c squared minus 2 times b times c. So we're always using bc here, times cos capital A. Okay, so this is like one bunch there. So does that make sense? As you can see, this is the cosine rule. I'll rub this off. So I don't expect you to memorize it straight away because it's a little bit longer, but do put that next to you and try to get familiar with it as we go through the questions. Okay, so let's go and get started. And before I just start, to get A, you know that we're going to just simply square root everything, right? Yeah. So that's what you're going to do for the next step if you're looking for A, which I'm sure you all know. Okay, let's get started. Question 9, find Q correct to one decimal place. Okay, so this is our Q, and this is we've got an opposite angle. Okay, remember with the cosine we only need one pair of opposite side and angle, and we also need the other two sides, 11 and 8. So we can use the cosine rule. But say for instance you wanted to use the sine rule, can you use the sine rule? Well, I've got that Q that we're looking for and we've got the opposite angle, but do we have another opposite angle inside? Well, we've got two sides, but we have no other angles, so we can't find the other angles, so we can't use the sine rule, as you can see. So then we turn to the cosine rule. Okay, so do you get the idea? So that's what we're going to be using, the cosine rule, and I put the cosine rule up here. A squared equals to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos capital A. That's our cosine rule. So we'll refer to that. So let's put it in. Q squared, this time, A, I'm going to let the Q be my A. Okay, because that's what we're looking for. And remember, A is a side and Q is a side, so I'll put the Q there. So Q squared equals to b squared plus c squared. Remember, B and C are the two remaining sides, so it's simply going to be, well, they put p squared plus r squared, because see how that's capital P? So it's opposite side we call the little p. Okay, and this is capital R, so the opposite side we'll call the little r. So I'll just put that in that terms, okay, p and r. So p squared plus r squared minus 2bc. So in this case, 2pr cos, and this capital Q is always going to be the opposite angle of that side. Okay, so Q is going to be this angle here. So we'll put all the figures in, put all the numbers in like that. So Q squared, Q is still unknown because that's what we're going to be looking for, equals to P is 8, so 8 squared plus 11 squared for R minus 2 times 8 times 11, so 2 times 8 times 11, times cos 115 degrees. So see how I did that? So just make sure you get the right numbers in the right place. And these ones, this one, this one, this one, this one, is simply, as I said, just the remaining two sides, so 8 and 11, right? So it's not too bad. Okay, so have a look at that. And we're going to simply look for q. So what I'm going to do is calculate this. The 8 squared is 64, 11 squared is 121. Okay, 2 times 8 times 11 is 176. And I'm just going to leave this as it is because I'm going to calculate that last. So just simplify it. And then q will just be the square root of this value here. And this value is that value there, 259.38, etc. And so to find q, because it's q squared, to find q, we simply square root it, and you should get 16.1. Okay, so that's our answer. So yeah, it's got a little bit more involved than the sine rule, just because the rule is a little bit more longer. But as you can see, it's not that bad. Our rubber is very squeaky today. So that's question 9. Have a look. So I hope you know by now when we use the cosine rule and when we use the sine rule, yeah? Okay, question 10. Find k correct to 1 decimal place. So here we've got k unknown and it's a side. So here I'm going to probably let k be my a. Okay, and just make sure we've got an opposite angle, which I do, and we've got the other 2 remaining sides, which I do as well. So I can just go straight to the cosine rule, just like this. So a is k, right? So it's going to be k squared equals 2. What are the other 2 remaining sides? It's 20 and 13. So 13 squared plus 20 squared minus. And make sure you remember the exact sign. Some people put minus there and plus there by accident because they memorized it incorrectly. Make sure you know the right signs. So 13 squared plus 20 squared minus 2 times 13 times 20. So you multiply the 2 sides together and times it by 2 times cos the angle which is opposite of k, which is 42 degrees. So cos 42 degrees. Get it, guys? So k will simply be square root of everything, isn't it? Because this is k squared. So to find k, we square root the whole thing. Okay, and if you guys are good with using the calculator, you should be able to put this all at once in a very logical way. So make sure you know how to use your calculator properly because it's got a lot of numbers to put in. So square root all that, you should get 13.5. So just check. Okay, just check if you get the same answer as me. Okay, if you get it wrong, that means you use your calculator incorrectly. Okay, 13.5, that's our answer to 1 decimal place. Okay, so let's move on. 11 says find v correct to 1 decimal place. So we're looking for v. So it's another side. So it's going to be easy because it's very similar to the previous 2 questions. V, we've got an opposite angle and we've got the other 2 remaining sides. So just go straight to the cosine rule, just like that. So v squared, the side squared, which is going to be our a, equals to the other 2 remaining sides, which is 37 and 23. So 23 squared plus 37 squared. And it doesn't matter which way you put it, doesn't matter about the order. Minus 2 times the 2 sides multiplied together. So 2 times 23 times 37. And because it's all multiplying, you don't have to worry about the order as well. Doesn't matter about the order. Times cos the opposite angle of v, so 19. So cos 19 degrees. Get that? So to find v, we simply square root everything. And again, you need to know how to use your calculator properly. So I'm just going to show you like that, and you should be able to put all this into your calculator. Okay? And if you like, just use brackets. So if you're not sure about if you're going to do it correctly, just use brackets. Put brackets here. Put brackets here if you want to. Okay? Just to be safe. I like using brackets. Even if it's not needed, I still use it just to be safe. Okay, put that all into your calculator. You should get 17.0. It says 1 decimal place, so it's going to be 0, but still put it because they say 1 decimal place, just to be safe as well. Okay, very, very similar question, isn't it? So these all questions are all very, very similar, so you shouldn't have a big problem. Let's move on. Okay, this time it says make a, the capital A, the subject of a squared equals to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. What is that? That's our cosine rule. So what they want you to do is see how the subject here is a squared. This little a here is a side. But in this question, they want you to make the capital A, which is the angle, the subject. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. And all you need is your good algebra skills, okay, which I know all of you are okay with. Now, Let's try to do that. So this is our rule. I'll just put that there. I'll just always start with the rule to start with. Now, I'm going to try to put this part by itself. Okay, so I can try to solve it. So everything else, I'm just going to move on to the other side. So what I'll do, because this is minus 2bc cos A, if I move this to the other side, I'll have positive 2bc cos A, which is good, right? So I'll move that over there, and then I'll move the a squared onto the other side, because I don't want anything else following. So I just want this by itself. So I'll move this over, and a back to this side. Just like this. Whoops, sorry. Okay, see what I did? So I moved this over, so I have positive 2bc cos A equals to b squared plus c squared minus that a squared. So it becomes a minus a squared. Okay, now I'm going to have cos A by itself, so I'll divide everything by 2bc, so I can eliminate that 2bc on my left hand side. So on my right hand side, I have b squared plus c squared plus minus a squared over 2bc. And on my left hand side, I have cos A by itself. So I'm getting there, right? And guys, you can tell me the last step. How do we find that capital A if I've got the cos before it? Yeah, we simply do cos inverse. So that capital A is simply cos inverse of this whole value, right? So that's it. Okay. So we made A the subject. So have a look at that, because this is going to be useful for the next few questions. Very squeaky rubber today. Okay, so that's our A, that's our angle. Because we're not always going to be looking for the side. We're sometimes going to be asked to find the angle, right? Like we did with the sine rule. We're sometimes asked for the angle theta, or sometimes we're asked for the side, depending on the question. But this one, I mean, I don't always memorize. Some people like to memorize two separate formulas. They're the same formula, but they're in different forms, right? In this case, a squared is the subject, and this case, capital A is the subject. So it doesn't really matter. Up to you. What's comfortable for you is best. But some people do like to memorize both. It's not very hard once you get used to this one first. But if you memorize both, if you're asked to find the side, you use this one. And if you're asked to find the angle, you use this one. Okay? So that's why some people like to memorize two. What I used to do is, I just memorize this one. And then, because it's not a very big process of algebra to get to the last step, so I just perform this algebra every single time I do a question. But that's not always a good thing, is it? Because in an exam you want to spend minimal time, okay, so you don't waste your time. So up to you. If you're fast at doing this, do it that way, or if you can, memorize both. Totally up to you. Okay, but still do get used to this one. Okay, so in your textbook you might see both. Alright, that's question 12, so we're probably going to use that for the next few questions. Okay, see, find theta, correct to the nearest minute. So this time we're looking for the angle, theta. Okay, so have your previous answer close by so we can use that one. So I'm not going to show you all the algebra steps again, I'm just going to simply use that formula. Okay, which is actually just this one. But it's just got different inputs. So cos S, I'm going to do this in terms of S, R, and T, because this one's in terms of S, R, and T, so you know what I mean. So cos S, this angle here, equals to R squared. See how this is capital R, this is little r. T, see how this is capital T, this is little t. And then the S, see how this is capital S? The little s must be the side that's opposite this capital S, which is this one. This is little s, sorry. Okay, so we put everything in. Cos S, which is this one, equals to R squared plus T squared. So R and T are the two other sides, and S is the opposite side. Okay, so make sure you know, don't get confused. R squared plus T squared equals to, minus S squared over 2 times R times T. Okay, so like with this one, see how B and C is used twice? BC, BC. In here, same, the two remaining sides. See how here's the angle and there's the two sides surrounding it? Those are the remaining sides, okay? So these two sides are also used twice, R and T. RT, RT. And that S, the opposite side S, is only used once here. Okay, so that kind of helps a bit. Anyway, get that? Make sure you get that first, otherwise there's no point of moving on. Let's put in the values now. So cos theta, this theta that we're looking for, equals to r, which is 7, so 7 squared, t is 10, so plus 10 squared, and the opposite side, s is 14, so minus 14 squared over 2 times r times t again. So 2 times 7 times 10. Get it? Yes, you do. Okay, so now I've got all that. All we need to do is look for theta. So I'll just calculate that. It's going to be negative 47 over 140 to simplify it, because that will always help. So all I need to do now is find theta by doing cos inverse of this value. Cos inverse negative 47 over 140. Okay? And just put that in your calculator. You should get 109 degrees and 37 minutes. They ask you to put it to the nearest minute. Make sure you always answer that part of the question as well. Alright, so that was question 13. It's just a different form of the cosine rule that we used. Okay, so I actually do recommend you to memorize this one as well, because it's just a bit more quicker, so you don't have to waste your time in your exam. Okay, that's question 13. Let's move on. Find alpha correct to the nearest minute. So alpha is also an angle. Okay, and see how we have an opposite side, and we have the other two remaining sides. So we can use the cosine rule, but because we're looking for the angle, I'm going to use that rule that I had in the previous question, or previous question, sorry. Okay, so I'll put that there for you here, because you guys can say along with me and trying to memorize it. Cos theta equals to b squared plus c squared minus a squared. Oh, sorry, I should have actually put a here, haven't I? Sorry. Over, okay, 2bc. Is that correct? So that's my cosine rule again, but for the angle. Okay, and then you know how to find a. You simply do cos inverse. I'll just put that there as well. A equals to cos inverse b squared plus c squared minus a squared over 2bc. Okay, so I usually just start from here, but it doesn't matter. That's my rule for capital A, which is our angle. So in this case, our capital A will be alpha, okay? And B and C will be the remaining two sides, which is the sides that's outside the angle, which is going to be 9 and 8. These are the remaining two sides, B and C. And A here, this A is going to be the side that's opposite the angle, which is 11. Okay, so let's go ahead and put everything in just like that. So alpha equals to cos inverse the other two sides, so 8 squared plus 9 squared, minus the a squared, the little a squared, or the opposite side squared, which is 11, so 11 squared, over 2 times bc, so 2 times 8 times 9. Okay, so I hope you're getting used to this. Have a look. And that's your answer. Just put in your calculator, guys. I don't really worry about that one. And if you like, you can put brackets here just to be safe with your calculator. Okay. That's my alpha. 80 degrees and 24 minutes, nearest minute. So make sure you answer that question. Okay, so have a good look at that and make sure you get this answer. Check. I'll actually rub this off because you're going to get confused. Angle formula, side formula, but the same formula. Okay, that's question 14. Let's move on. 15. Okay, again, we're looking for the angle alpha, correct to the nearest degree. Okay, so here's our alpha. We've got an opposite side, which is very good. And we've got the other two remaining sides. Okay, so let's go ahead and apply our rule, cosine rule, but I'm going to use my angle rule, this one here. Okay, so in this case, A, capital A is our alpha. Our B and C are our two surrounding sides, so 15 and 17 are B and C. And A is, of course, the opposite side of alpha, which is 13. Okay, so let's just simply apply that rule, just like this. So alpha equals to cos inverse 15 squared plus 17 squared, so the outer two sides, so 15 squared plus 17 squared, minus the opposite side squared, so 13 squared, over 2 times b times c, so 2 times 15 times 17. Okay, and just put that all into your calculator. Just be very, very careful, and you should get 47 degrees. So just check with my answer. Okay, and it says nearest degree, so make sure you know how to round those up. Okay, have a close look at that one. And I hope you're used to the cosine rule by now. So that was pretty much it. That was the cosine rule. So hopefully a lot of you have memorized it, but if you haven't, please spend your time just a little bit just memorizing this one, because you will be needing this very often from now on. Okay, so yes, the cosine rule, there's 2 versions, so think about a way that you can memorize more quickly. Okay, if you like memorizing both, do that, or if you're just memorizing one, do that. But remember, you've got to include the algebra in every single question if you're asked for the angle. Okay, so that was the cosine rule.